now. All right, so I think we are starting, or at least it's starting right now because I hit the button. So I'm just going to do the intro. What is going on, everybody? It's Randall Thor 19 back again for a surprise Xbox 2 podcast because we weren't supposed to be doing one today, but Jez is like,
surprise!
Yo, we need to do one. So we're here. I'm Rand, and with me as always, Jez. What's going on, Jez?
Hey man, just back from vacation. My God, I had the best night's sleep of my life last night because I had the longest day of my life preceding that, and then I needed a lot of sleep. So I slept 14 hours last night, so I'm absolutely buzzing. Usually when I do these podcasts, I'm half dead. So I just thought, you know what? I'm going to use all this energy have a podcast with Rand because for once I ain't tired. But yeah, there was a big storm in northern Germany yesterday, which meant all the trains were delayed by 40 minutes. So I missed a load of trains, and consequently, it took an 8-hour journey, took about 12 hours. So that was fun. But yeah, hit the beach, ate some ice cream.
So the
Went to
beach
some
was
restaurants.
good, and the ice cream was even better?
Yeah, man. Pumpkin cheesecake as well. First time having that. That was nice.
Pumpkin cheesecake, is that even a real thing?
I don't know. This restaurant did it. Like some sort of harvest period special or something. But it was nice. And I had several of them over the week. Because I kept going back to the same restaurant because it was so good. But yeah, that was my week. No games. I didn't take my Switch with me or my 3DS or anything like that. I think I played Monster Hunter Stories on on Android for a bit. But that's it. What have you been doing, man, this week?
Man, well, I wasn't expecting to do the podcast with you today until yesterday when you hit me up and you're like, we need to do the podcast because I'll be back. And I'm like, what? We had told everybody not to expect one. But yeah, I mean, what about...
Oh, did we? Oh.
I mean, yeah, we'd said because you were going to be gone.
Well, surprise!
Yeah, you were going to be gone. So it was like, all right, well, now you're saying, like, you know, we could do one. So I was like, all right, cool. So I didn't really prepare anything. You could tell at the notes in the Discord. Yeah, I didn't really.
Or the lack of notes.
Or the lack of notes. So we're just gonna have to wing this podcast.
Speaking of Discord, by the way, guys, we have a Discord where we organize our podcasts. But if you guys would be interested in chatting in there and stuff like that, let us know on Twitter, and maybe we'll open it up and add some public channels and stuff like that. I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, if people want to join, that'd be fine. I mean, we built it to do the podcast. I mean, if anybody who actually wants to join the Discord and talk to like-minded gamers, can definitely do that. But yeah, so Shady says, are we talking games this episode or just sales? Man, Shady, where you been? We always talk games. That's the first thing that happens on the show, the games we've been playing. You know, that's, I mean, not like other shows, you know what I mean? Like, I'm saying, like, this podcast actually plays games and talks about them right away. But before we get into all of that, if you guys wouldn't be so kind to hit the like button if you're enjoying the show, or share this out on social media. I don't know if you heard, Jez, but YouTube really angered a bunch of content creators today. I mean, it doesn't affect me whatsoever because I'm nobody at all. You know, I almost have 30,000 subs. Nobody. In the grand scheme of things, I'm nothing, right?
Well, first of all, that's not true. And second of all, is it ever the case that YouTube isn't pissing off its content creators?
Yeah.
But anyway, let's hear the why. Why they're pissing off their content creators.
Well, they're removing the verification marks.
Oh.
So if people
how am I gonna know? You know, that's a bit messed up actually, because there is a channel on YouTube that literally rips Windows Central's content. They just rip the videos and re-upload them, and they get ads on them and stuff. And we have to go through, do all the manual copyright stuff and blah blah blah, and then they can issue counterclaims, and it's so annoying. So if they're stripping the verification tag, that kind of makes it harder for us to make people aware that it's our content or something. I don't know. Stupid YouTube. Stupid Google.
Taking the check marks away from people. Not that I have a check mark, but my feed on Twitter is all just people complaining about it. So People are
Rip.
saying that you're twice as loud as me. Interesting.
Twice as loud? Oh, okay.
I'll turn up my
Um,
my mic on OBS then. I mean, turn that up a
yeah,
little
like
bit.
if you look at the bars flipping up and down on OBS, you should be able to balance them out.
Ooh. Okay. I mean, I think it should be a little bit better. I mean, they were I didn't change anything from since last time, so um,
It
I don't
might
know.
be that because my mic's in a slightly different position.
Should
I'll
be
try and
fine.
talk a bit quieter. I should
It's
be
it's
quiet
it's
anyway.
it should be
Slightly.
fine. It should be fine.
Okay. Okay. Sorry
Uh,
about that, everyone.
so yeah, sorry, our bad. Let me change this a little bit. Okay. All right, so yeah, hit the like button, subscribe, share this out, and we're gonna get going. So I mean, like, what we're talking about. You know, I always put like the big titles basically in the description of the show. Obviously, Gears 5 had their whole sales and yeah, it was player information that everybody kind of just
You've got to like remind me. I did see some of this stuff and I did tweet about it, but half the time I was drunk, so you're gonna have to you're gonna have to go back through and remind me.
yeah, yeah. We'll get there when we get there. But all the stuff with Gears, is it a sales failure or an Xbox Game Pass success? Right.
Oh yeah, I remember now. Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
the big news from yesterday, where you had a bunch of so-called wannabe multi-billion-dollar investors, really concerned that Xbox is changing their metrics that they share to the investing community. So here on Twitter and gaming YouTube, it's been called like the first step to the console shutdown. Xbox is going away.
What?
Yeah. This is it. This is it, man. This is the first step. The first step before Xbox gets shut down. Didn't you know? A lot of big time
LOL.
investors out there. A lot of big time billionaires and millionaires that know exactly what they're talking about. But we'll talk about that because Jess has. You have your own kind of like theory or whatever. I don't know if it was really a theory, but
I have some analysis on that. Yeah.
yeah.
I've talked to like people on our team who know way more than me about it, and they've sort of filled me in. So, my boss Daniel Rubino goes on like Fox News Business to talk about this sort of thing. So, kind of does know what he's talking about. So,
It's like Miles says in chat. Phil Spencer is taking Xbox Outback Old Yeller style.
oh wow, they're doing an EA. They're doing an EA on it.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about all that and anything else we want to, but we're going to talk about games first. And Jess says he was, playing. What were you playing? Like hopscotch at the beach, essentially?
I pretty much played very little. I played Monster Hunter Stories, which is a RPG. It's an RPG like Pokemon, but it's set in the Monster Hunter universe. So that's all I played all week, because I was digitally detoxing, but I also
detox. Is that one of those
detoxing.
controversy? How do you say controversy? Controversy?
I can't even remember how it's like controversy anymore.
Rand, it's a controversy. Is it a controversy? No, it's a controversy.
Controversy. I don't even remember what is the proper pronunciation anymore. But anyway, that's all I played. I didn't really play much. I'll tell you what I am going to be playing next week. Apart from Monster Hunter, because everyone knows I'm pretty obsessed with that right now. I'm going to be playing this. I got this game called Niflheim. Have you heard of that?
Yes, I have heard of Niflheim. Indeed. Yep.
So it's like it's a side-scrolling survival game set in Niflheim, the land of the dead in Norse mythology, and it looks really, really interesting. It's very, very indie. Like when you open the menus, it's like, yeah, this is pretty indie. But like, it actually has a really cool art style and a really cool sort of side-scrolling survival game. Like I've never really seen that before. I mean, Darkest Dungeon has some survival elements, I guess, but not like a full-blown survival game. So I'm intrigued about playing that. I'll talk about it next week maybe, and maybe do a little review if I get time. Other than that, I purchased earlier Link's Awakening for the Switch, which is getting rave reviews. I don't know if you saw IGN gave it over 9. Did they give it 9.7 or something? They gave it a high score.
What game?
Link's Awakening for Switch.
Yeah, Switch is having a really good year. Really good
It
content
is.
from their first part, like Super Mario Maker 2 came out and was really good, and I think that came out a couple months ago. And then you had
Yep.
Astral Chain from Platinum Games, which had an 87. They make great games, except of course when they're paired with Microsoft, then their games never come out and get canceled for whatever reason. Then you had this Link's Awakening, which is a remake, right? It's a remake of an earlier Zelda game, right?
Yeah, I don't know which specific Zelda game. Like, I'm not a huge Zelda dude. I played Ocarina of Time, I played Majora's Mask, but like, I've missed so many games in the series, sadly, because I never really invested that much in Nintendo ecosystem after the Super Nintendo and then 64. But like, it looks really, really awesome, and I just wanted to give it a go, so I bought that, and I'll be playing that next week. And that's pretty much it, man. Uh, I'm happy to get back to my Xbox. I really, really missed it. So what have you been
Aw,
playing?
just
Other
misses
than
Xbox. You know, man, the
I did.
Switch. I gotta say, like every single month, they're always on top. You know, I had my doubts back before the Switch came out when the Wii U was still, well, I wouldn't say going strong. Like the Wii U was like one of the biggest failures in console history, right up there with Dreamcast. Even though
Yeah.
people love the Dreamcast and people like the Wii U because it did have a lot of great software, at least Nintendo always does that. But I was just like, man, can they really come back from that? And sure enough, they did, and they've come back in a way that I don't think anybody really thought they
No.
could.
I think that
Um,
that original trailer with the cool trendy people partying with the Switch and stuff, like I thought that was absolutely ridiculous. But I literally did that last week. Like I went to my girlfriend's sister's house for someone's birthday, and we were literally playing Mario Party in a big group, a bunch of people who never even really touched the game before, and it was just Mario Party so accessible and so obviously easy to play, but still at the same time still kind of fun. So there's just something magic about Nintendo. There really is, and that's why the Switch has been successful. I still hate the joysticks on the thing, but you know maybe they'll release a Switch Pro in the future that's got better everything. That's what I low key hope will happen, but it is what it is. But Rand. What have you been playing, man? What have you been playing this week?
um, what have I been playing? So last night, if you guys didn't notice, I put out my review for Control, right? I made a decision the other day while I was sitting there, and I looked at my channel and I was like, man, my channel kind of started, talking about video games because it's something I really enjoy, right? Something I love. It's my hobby. It's like the hobby for me. There was one point I read a lot of books or watched a lot of TV in between like working and stuff like that. But I love games, right? And I play a lot of games, so I made a lot of reviews, well, Ranzini spotlights, stuff like that. But I haven't had a lot of time recently. If you guys have been paying attention to the channel, I don't post as much content as I used to. That should change soon because I should have more time coming up. But I decided, you know what? I wanted to actually kind of share the joy of gaming I have with everybody. So like, I'm actually going to make videos about all the games I played recently. Um,
Cool.
so like Man of Medan and Days Gone and stuff like that. Like the games that I played this year that I haven't really put out videos for because I figured that's what's important. Yeah, sure, I could sit here and I could talk and give my opinion about like Xbox hiding investor information and what that really means. I'm not a financial expert. I don't really know. I could give my opinions, or I could talk about how PlayStation might be launching a PS5 Pro alongside the PlayStation 5 and stuff. And yeah, that's cool, and people would like it. But what I really like is I like talking about my experiences with video games, with you and with other people. So that's what I kind of wanted to mention on the last podcast, but I didn't. I kind of forgot about it. So, that's going to be more of a thing. So, like, I was planning on doing a review for a video on the Sojourn for tomorrow. I don't know if you've heard about it. It's
Oh,
like a puzzle game that comes out on Xbox and PlayStation and PC.
I
Like a
haven't.
first person puzzle game. And
Oh, actually, it rings a bell. Rings a bell. I'm not a
so,
big fan of those kind of puzzle games.
yeah. So I
So,
was playing it last night, trying to trying to finish it off so I could, finish the game, put out a review because I'm not someone who actually plays the game for 20 minutes and then makes a convoluted excuse for what a review is or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But I got stuck on a puzzle, Jez. I feel like such an idiot. I literally was stuck on this puzzle for over an hour to the point where I had to send pictures to Maka and Gopher to try to help me figure out what I was missing because it was like unsolvable. Completely unsolvable. I even like emailed the person who sent me the code asking if they have any stuff. So I
Did you crack it in the end or
no? I gave up after an hour and a half, so I'll go back to it later. But
Okay.
I don't know what the hell I was missing. So I played the Sojourn. I kind of like what I was playing of it right now, and it's a first-person puzzler. Obviously, when I finish it, I'll have more to say about it. But in reality, the game that I've been playing all week is Borderlands 3. I have like 27 hours into it so far. I started it. I played it in co-op with Dealer Gaming and Cold Eastwood and Zalker87. And we played it in co-op, and Jez, Xbox One X, performance mode, 60 frames, resolution mode, 30 frames, 4K, 1080p. Guess which one I chose?
I'm gonna go with resolution mode, and I'll tell you why. Because I also played Borderlands 3 a bit, and the 60 frames mode was not very stable. So I ended up playing on the resolution mode for the locked 30. Is that what you did too?
No, because I switched back and forth between performance and resolution mode to me is unplayable.
Oh dear.
Yeah, unplayable for me at least. Like I need the extra frames. I'll choose the extra frames, even though it's not a lock 60. You know what I mean?
See, I do too, but like when I played it, it was erratic all over the place, and like it wasn't hitting 60 very often. Like in that first little area where I can't even remember the quest now, but there's like a first little area where you have to kill like the first boss, and like it was just lagging and hitching and stuff like that when there were explosions and stuff. So I knocked it down to 30, and that felt more performant to me. But maybe it's different over time, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
So basically, I enjoyed what I was playing of it. The problem for me was that a lot of the technical issues of playing in performance mode with 4 people in co-op are really pronounced. Like, it does not run well on the Xbox. It doesn't run well on any platform, apparently. Digital Foundry has kind of done the stuff. They seem to...
I was playing solo, and also I was playing off my external, which I think might be on the fritz at the moment, so that might have affected things. I don't know.
Yeah, so so when I decided to play it solo because Colt was leaving for a week. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to play this solo, and I've pretty much been doing so. And I almost find the solo experience a little bit better than the co-op experience, to be honest with you, because I get a...
What's that?
Because I get a better chance, more... Because, like, when you play it in co-op, it's just... You just go and shoot and kill. At least with solo, I can kind of pay attention to everything that's going on. I can actually listen to the story and the voice acting and stuff, which you don't really care to when you're actually playing in co-op, because everybody's like... everybody's all excited and screaming about it. Plus, I can play at my own pace. That's another big thing. Like, when people get on, they're like, all right, we're going to play now. You either play now or you get left behind. So, playing solo, I can choose to play whenever I want. Like last night, I didn't play because I was playing the Sojourn. And I didn't feel like I was... You know what I mean? Like, if people are on to play co-op, you would kind of feel forced to play... Whereas, like, when you play it by yourself, it's like, I can choose to play whenever I want.
I know exactly what you mean, because, like, I always used to play Halo with my brother in 2-player co-op. Always. Every single time I played it in 2-player co-op. And because of that, I just never really absorbed the plot of the game until I was older, like, years later, and I played it solo. So there is that sort of, like, when you're playing co-op, you're talking, you're not really paying much attention. And it's interesting because in Monster Hunter World, it forces you to do the story missions solo first. and then only after you've seen the cutscene can you invite people to come and help you with the monster, which irritates a lot of people, and it's really convoluted when you're doing it. But at the same time, at least I know what the story is. So I don't know. But like in general, are you enjoying Borderlands 3?
Yeah, I'm actually enjoying Borderlands 3 much more than I thought. Now, this is a game I wasn't actually going to play. I bought it because my game share partner wanted it. Like, when we were discussing which games we were buying this holiday, because we do a thing where it's like, he bought Control, and then the next game was like Borderlands, so I had to buy it, and then the next game coming up is Ghost Recon, which he has to buy. You know what I mean? So we do that.
No.
We do that. And he was like, I want Borderlands. And I'm like, all right, fine. That means I got to buy it, even though at the time, I didn't want to play it, or at least I didn't want to. And so I figured, you know what? I paid $60 for it. I might as well get my enjoyment out of it. So I started playing it, and I was like, as I was playing it more and more, I was enjoying it more and more because the gunplay is actually really strong. There's a lot of cool guns to actually collect that have like different fire modes and stuff. And the character I picked.
One of the sort of things they did, I noticed to make the gunplay more interesting was like, you know, because typically on first person shooters, when you have a boss, they just become like a bullet sponge, right? But I noticed they added like little animations when like bosses are taking, like, at least on the bosses that I fought, even like the bullet spongy ones, they still like have like little animations when loads of bullets are hitting them, so your guns still feel like they have some sort of impact.
Yeah.
And also the headshot sound effects were really satisfying as well, I noticed. So like it did feel like the gunplay was a step
No,
up.
the gunplay is like, yeah, the gunplay is a definite step up from Borderlands 2. I really like the differing areas that you actually go to. Like the previous ones all kind of took place on Pandora, so it was kind of a brown palette, right? But this one, they really changed that up, right? Yeah, you go to the Pandora in the beginning, and that's where I think kind of the game is a slow start because it feels just like Borderlands 2 when you start out. It's like, oh, it looks like, I mean, it looks way better than Borderlands 2, but like you're in the Pandora and it's like, you know, like, what do I get myself into? But then you actually go to different planets, a whole bunch of different planets in search of the vaults. So you go to this like sprawling like megaplex that has you know, a bunch of neon colors, and then you go to this other like forest. So you go to a forest place, you go to like a monk monastery, and every like new world looks different than the one before. So that really helps out a lot. So the gunplay, the areas you go to. I'm playing as Mose, which has the she calls in the mech, which is great because it basically I get two life bars. Like when I bust my shields and I don't have any more, I immediately call in the mech and my shields are restored and I'm just a killing machine. And by the time I get back out, you know, I pretty much have full shields and full health. And the way I have my character spec'd is that like there's this thing where like I sacrifice health to increase my shields, and then I have this perk where like the lower my health is, the more damage I do, so up to like 60%. And then when I kill enemies, I get these other perks that increase gun damage. So when I get into a fight, I have this like huge amount of shields, and I do like, and I kill one person, two person, and I get those stacks. Like I'm just a killing machine. Like I just click on people's heads and they just die because of all the extra damage I'm doing because of the way I built my character. That stuff is really cool. The bigger thing is the writing isn't all that great. That's kind
isn't that just standard for Borderlands?
I mean, it's been 7 years, and you know, I actually really like Borderlands 2. The writing isn't that great. There are some spots where it's funny, and there are some spots where it tries too hard. And honestly, the two villains of the game aren't as interesting or as memorable as Handsome Jack was in Borderlands 2. So that's kind of my early thoughts on Borderlands 3 right now. Obviously, I'll finish the game up and put out a video about it. But
Borderlands 3's humor seems really polarizing. Some people like love it. I've never really liked it. Like the most it can really do for me is make my eyes roll and go, "Oh yeah, I see what they did there." But like everything just feels really forced to me. I don't know. But like if you like the humor, like I'm not bashing you or anything, or saying my sense of humor is better. It's just I just can't stand. It just stops me from enjoying it to the maximum, I guess. But the gunplay is like really awesome, and like you say, like with the creating builds and stuff like that. I wonder like what they're gonna do with end game systems and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, I did see they have already kind of decreased the loot in like Mayhem 3, which is like a difficulty setting after you beat the game. The loot you get, because yeah, the end game is all about, you know, getting the best stuff and the best rolls. But I'm not really interested in that. Like, I'm interested in just completing the game, maybe getting all the achievements, and then moving on to the next stuff. Because, you know, we got Surge 2 next week, and then there's Code Vein, which I'm not sure I'll play Code Vein because that doesn't look very interesting to me. Then you have like Ghost Recon Breakpoint, and then you have Outer Worlds and Call of Duty, Modern Warfare, you know, Death Stranding and Need for Speed Heat, and you know, Star Wars Fallen Order, Jedi Fallen Order, and Doom Eternal. There's a lot of games to play, so it's like I'll be playing all of those mostly. So it's like I kind of need to kind of like, you know, finish and then move on. Which like people can make fun of me for playing PUBG for as long as I did, right? Like I played PUBG for 800 hours, and it was just like, well, but mainly because there wasn't anything to play, or I'd play what had come out, and then like, all right, well now what? Well, back to PUBG. So
I'm like that with Monster Hunter right now. I've just hit like 340 hours. Like, and I'm still nowhere near the end of Iceborne. This game's just ridiculous. The amount of when she bites you, man. My God. But I'm really hyped for the Outer Worlds. I think that's my next big one.
Yeah,
like everyone I know who's played that has said like it's like the second New Vegas. You know, that's what everyone keeps saying. So that's the next big one for me.
Yeah. So I got a scam likely on my cell phone. Someone's calling from somewhere in Illinois, and the actual caller says "scam like me." Someone's trying to scam me, Jez.
Who? What app tells you that? Or is it just iPhone?
That's just the iPhone. It says "scam likely," and it's true. Some of these will actually leave voicemails that are like, "We have information that your social security number is under criminal investigation. So please call us back. Tell us your name and social security number so we can get to the bottom of it." And it's like, huh? So you want me to call you back and tell you my name and my social security number but you called me to tell me that my social security number is under attack. So how do you know? You know what I'm saying? But the thing is, people fall for this stuff all the time. They're so stupid. So I when I get these calls, I always got to block the contact. But shout out to Israel Rangel for the super chat. I appreciate it, and he didn't leave a message. And then we have one from Snazzy Crowd 1212. He says, "What do you think of Sony confirming that they have the rights to the 2014 Sunset Overdrive game?"
Oh, well, this was pretty much already known, right? That they had the rights to the franchise, but what we don't know is like, do they have the publishing rights? Is that still up for debate? I don't even know.
I mean, does it really even matter? I mean, at this point, obviously when Sony bought Insomniac, they attained the rights to the Sunset Overdrive franchise, right? Because Insomniac owned the IP, so now Sony owns Insomniac, so now Sony owns Sunset Overdrive. The question is, did Microsoft hand back the publishing rights to Sunset Overdrive 1, where like they could release a remastered version of Sunset Overdrive in the PlayStation? Maybe. The other question is Sony really interested in making a new Sunset Overdrive? I know Ted Price says it's at one point they were really interested in doing it, but you know, when you look at what essentially, you know, Insomniac's going to do for the PlayStation 5, it's probably going to be Spider-Man 2, 100%, right? I mean, with how that game sold and how much of a huge success. Well, yeah, I would say like you're definitely probably going to see a new Spider-Man and probably another Ratchet and Clank, which that did really well back in 2016. And then if you're talking about bringing back a franchise, you have the choice between Resistance or Sunset Overdrive, and Resistance has cachet with the PlayStation audience already. It's like, I think there's probably a better chance they bring back Resistance than actually make a sequel to Sunset Overdrive. Not saying that they wouldn't make a sequel to Sunset Overdrive. Maybe they will at some point. But I mean, I would love to see a sequel regardless. You know, it's
Yeah,
just
so would I.
it's pretty interesting how this all kind of came about. Now think about it. You remember Insomniac worked exclusively with PlayStation, even though they were independent. You know, like during the PS2 and the PS3 era, even the PS1 era, they wanted to own their own IP, and Sony was like, no, if we're publishing your games, we own it. So they did the deal with Microsoft and EA, got to do Sunset Overdrive for Microsoft because they got to retain the IP, and then Sony bought them anyways, and now Sony owns the IP. So it's kind of a whole weird situation how that whole thing just turned out. But yeah.
The industry's changing rapidly, you know, and it's less to do with like, you know, them needing Sony, and it's more to do with like Sony and Microsoft trying to lock down the studios that they've had success with before, you know, other more nefarious companies get involved, like your Googles and your Tencents and all that sort of stuff. So the industry is just rapidly changing, and I think like it's going to get tough for these sort of AAA indies that aren't backed by some kind of platform. Like CD Projekt Red has goodoldgames.com, so like they have like retail backing and security that way, and like Rockstar Games is like not, well, they're not even independent, but you know what I mean. Everything needs to be backed by some sort of bigger company these days. Once you get to a certain size, it feels like indies are talking about feeling the squeeze all the time. And did you notice that? Did you see the news that Steam changed its algorithm and
I
a
did.
bunch of indies got obliterated out of the search results?
I did see that, yeah. I did see that.
So,
And a lot of developers are really angry about that, yeah.
so like, imagine if you're an indie developer and you're at the mercy of Steam's algorithm. Wouldn't you rather have like, if you were the boss of an indie company, and a company like Sony or Microsoft were offering you financial security for your employees and their families, basically, there comes a point where you take it. I think. I don't know.
Yep. So, moving on.
So, moving on.
Moving on. What do you want? We're going to talk about Gears first.
Sure.
Gears. A lot of talk about its supposed failure. You know, because of the UK charts, where it only sold like 16,000 copies. And then, of course, Microsoft released the information that they had over 3 million players. So the question here, Jez, is, was this a sales failure or a Game Pass success?
This is like, this is a complicated topic for a number of reasons. First of all, the UK sales chart is worthless. It doesn't tell like the full story at all. UK retail is suffering so bad right now, and the UK is about to slip back into recession. So like, you can compare it in some ways, but like in others, not really. Especially when everyone in the UK is being thrifty as hell. And to be honest, British gamers often are just thrifty, looking for the best deals. Game Pass is like, the UK is one place where Game Pass would probably be really successful. But so I think the UK game charts are pretty much worthless for this particular debate. It'd be more compelling if we had hard sales results for America, and like, have those been released yet?
No. They haven't released any info. That's the thing. Like, the sales stuff is a little bit weird because it's just from one region, and it's just physical, which is why in my video I said that chart's completely meaningless. You don't include digital in 2019, you're an empty statistic, right? I mean, they even have Borderlands 3 in that same chart, where it's like, yeah, it's the biggest launch of the year, even though it's down 50% from Borderlands 2 in 2012. But it even sounds like it's going to do better than that because digital is such a huge thing now. And you have Game Pass. So, physical sales, do they matter? Of course they matter. Sales matter, of course. But Game Pass matters to Microsoft a lot more, and this is an area where Microsoft literally wants you, and they advertise the way to play Gears early is with Game Pass. So I know Phil
But
talked.
not only that, but like, when you look at any of the whenever you look at any of the Gears advertising, it all says Xbox Game Pass underneath. It doesn't say Xbox One. It just says Xbox Game Pass. So this is like literally what they wanted.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah, I
sorry.
mean it's 100%. That's exactly what they want. So, I mean, the whole look, the whole idea that see, I've already talked about this multiple times. I talked about this on RDX with Dealer Show. I did my own video about it. So I'm just gonna reiterate it again. Microsoft wants you to subscribe to Game Pass. Like they would much rather because I've asked this question, Jez, and I want to see if if you've had the same answer. I've asked, what would you rather have somebody do? Buy a copy of Gears 5 for $60, or have that same person subscribe to Game Pass? And you want to know what the answer was to me? We would much rather have the person subscribe to Game Pass.
Yep.
Than buy a one-off copy of a game.
See, the thing is, like, a lot of people think like that $60, all of that $60 instantly goes to Microsoft. There are so many overheads on that $60, like tax. You have to pay for the plastic on the boxes and stuff like that. It's like it's not the Microsoft instantly gets $60. The margins are probably better on the Game Pass sale. You don't have to like wrangle with retailers and all that sort of stuff. There's like a whole chain of things that aren't being considered when people try and compare Game Pass to a physical retail box, which is essentially what you're doing when you're using the UK chart figures, because UK charts only include the physical sales. And it is annoying that we don't have better data and we can't really analyze, and we just have to do this sort of speculative dance, which is great for YouTube videos because you can spin it no matter what
you can
want.
Spin it negatively or you can spin it positively. Whatever way you can choose.
Yeah, exactly. You can
Because
spin it to fit your narrative.
Yeah.
You know, like I ain't trying to spin it positively. I ain't trying to spin it negatively. I'm just saying the reality, the boring reality, and Google's algorithm doesn't like boring reality. It likes outrage. It likes sensationalism. But the boring reality is that we don't know the full picture because we don't have the full spreadsheet of data. But what we do know is that Microsoft wants people to be using Xbox Game Pass because that's how they marketed it. They marketed it with Xbox Game Pass on the big banners, which they paid for in loads of major cities, as per Aaron Greenberg's Twitter, with Xbox Game Pass all the way underneath it. And the margins, the margin is like the difference between your expenditure and your profit, is like the margins on Game Pass are probably better than the margin on a single piece of physical software because of all the overheads that are involved in that. And overheads basically means the stuff that you spend in order to make money. So like paying people's salaries, that's an overhead, for example. So we just don't have a full complete set of data. But like you have to be wary when you listen to like commentators say that, oh, the UK sales charts means Gears 5 bombed. You have to be wary of that because like there is a whole other range of information that isn't being considered or is being omitted on purpose because they want to spin a narrative. So
well, yeah.
The ultimate question is, we've got 3 million players in Gears 5 now. Will there still be 3 million players in a month?
No.
Will it go up? Will it go down? Will it be stagnant? You know, is Gears going to be that sort of game that keeps people subscribed to Xbox Game Pass? That's the real question. That's the compelling bit of information that I'd rather talk about. Is Gears good enough to sort of, because Netflix basically trained people to expect a certain level of quality with its content. Is like Gears alone enough to train people to be like happy with the content output, while Outer Worlds is the next big game we're getting on Game Pass, right? I would say.
Well, yeah, I mean, they also released a whole bunch of new games yesterday. Like, for instance, Bloodstained just hit Xbox Game Pass, as well as, what was the other game that came out yesterday? I forget, but like Dirt Rally 2. So they added 2 more games yesterday. They're adding 3 more games next week. The Outer Worlds comes in October. Yeah, so it's about, okay, Microsoft's at the point with Game Pass where they're in user acquisition mode. Everything they're doing now is to get people into the door of Game Pass, which is why you have $1 trials or $2 for 2 months, or convert your regular Xbox Live Gold to Game Pass Ultimate, because it's all about user acquisition at this point. So basically, what they did was they used Gears 5, the biggest game for Xbox this holiday. They marketed as Game Pass only. We're not Game Pass only, but play it early with Ultimate, right? Because you could play it 4 days early with Ultimate, and they were given those deals because they wanted to make a subscription service successful. You need to get people in the door, right? And I don't think the small, the small indie titles and stuff like that, that's fine for a certain type of group. But what's going to get people in the door and what's going to get people to notice Game Pass are big, huge titles day one. Right? Yeah, it's nice to get Just Cause 3 or Just Cause 4 3 months later, or Shadow of the Tomb Raider 5 months later, or Metro Exodus 4 months later. Like, those are great because those still have value because it's really close to, from the release. But what really gets people to notice Game Pass is Gears 5 day one, Halo Infinite day one. Any other game that Microsoft can potentially get day one that has a big budget that people are looking forward to. Something like Borderlands 3 would have been huge if they could have gotten for Game Pass, right?
Yep.
Because they need eyes on it. They need users. So yeah, Microsoft probably is well okay with people foregoing buying the retail version of Gears if they sign up to Game Pass. Now, not everyone who signs up to Game Pass to play Gears is going to keep signed up. I mean, there are going to be people that actually cancel their subscription and use it for someone else, but a lot of these subscription services have years and years of historical data that show once someone signs up for a subscription service, they typically don't unsubscribe, right? I mean, hell, I subscribed to Amazon Prime for years, and I buy packages and stuff like that, and I watch the TV shows, but I don't really buy things every single month or watch a show on Amazon Prime every single month. I could unsubscribe and then resubscribe when I want to, but I just don't. And it's something that's so easy. Like, I could just click. It's
because it's such a trivial amount of money. Like, I subscribe to Spotify, and I don't listen to that much music these days. But I just like having it there. Like, I could subscribe and unsubscribe, but just the hassle of tracking all those subscriptions and unsubscribing, resubscribing, blah 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 blah. I just might as well just leave the payment to go through, because it's like, what, $10? Like, who cares about $10? And that's pretty much what Game Pass is. It's like, who cares about spending that $10?
Yeah, so
Microsoft built its whole business on that, because that's what Xbox Live is.
But people also don't understand, because I also see this. How is Microsoft making money out of this? How are they basically selling Gears for $1 and making money? Now, this is where people point to Netflix. I saw this happen a lot. Like, oh, Netflix is great, and Game Pass is an ultimate win for the consumer, because who was going to complain about playing Gears 5 for $2 or essentially, $10 since you already have Game Pass? Like, that is awesome. I don't have to spend $60. I can play Gears, and now I have actual money I can spend to play Borderlands. It's an ultimate win for the consumer in that regard. But then some people point to Netflix and they'll be like, well, Netflix, they're not making any money, which is true. They're in debt up to their eyeballs, right? But the difference between Netflix and Xbox is Netflix has no other ways to make money outside of their subscription base. They currently don't sell ads on anything, which maybe they will at some point. Maybe Netflix creates a lower, tiered model that actually sells ads.
That's actually not true. That's not actually true.
Well, Netflix sells ads?
Yeah, they do, but they do it with product placements. And you'll notice that, and a lot of Netflix shows, they use a lot of surfaces in those Netflix shows.
Sure, but I was more talking about ads during during your show. Like, you have like Hulu does, right? So they don't do that. Xbox, as big as Game Pass is for Xbox, you know what the majority of Microsoft's business is? It's still selling other people's games and other people's content and taking a 30% cut when someone buys that skin in Fortnite, right? That is how they're gonna make all this money. Is like they have all these other avenues of revenue that they have outside of Game Pass, and Game Pass is just kind of one thing combined with everything else. So yeah, and I think we've said it before. Jez, do you think Xbox Game Pass is profitable right now? Because I sure as hell don't, and I don't think it's aimed to be, or at least going to be profitable for probably years to come.
No, it probably isn't. And like you say, like look at Netflix, they're in debt up to their eyeballs, and that's pretty much what mode Xbox Game Pass is in. But unlike Netflix, which, like you said, is only backed basically by venture capital money, Xbox is backed by Microsoft, and they're also backed by their other parts of the businesses that do make money, like selling other people's games, like selling, pretty much like the Fortnite business of selling microtransactions in Fortnite through the Xbox store. That is in the order of tens of millions of dollars. It's not like people don't realize how much money Microsoft makes on just Fortnite or just Minecraft. It's a lot of money, and they can use that money to grow the next part of the business, the next phase of the business, which is this Xbox Game Pass subscription service. And they're onto something, because Apple's doing it, because EA's doing it, Ubisoft is doing it, everyone is doing it.
I mean,
and everyone wouldn't be doing it if it was stupid. You know what I mean? And Microsoft's ahead by miles compared to everyone else who's trying this.
I mean, Sony's been doing it for quite some time. They just don't do it to the extent that Microsoft does. PlayStation Now has like 700 games, and it, it doesn't include Sony's first party right away, and they don't really advertise it as heavily as Microsoft does. But yeah, I mean, like,
but the difference there is like they're still building up that part of their business. If Sony went hard advertising PlayStation Now, they'd flood the servers and make it laggy, and that'd just create the perception that PlayStation Now is bad, and then they wouldn't be able to like sell it to people when they eventually do get the speed that it needs in order to be like.
Well, I mean, they added downloads to PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 2 games. It's only streaming only on the PlayStation 3. Sure, you can stream PlayStation 4 games, I think. But you're also there's also the option to download as well. So like a lot of these companies have subscription services, and I've seen a bunch of glowing praise for Apple Arcade, which is I think coming out tomorrow with iOS 13. That's $5 a month. Like you said, Ubisoft and EA have their own subscription services on PC. EA Access is on console. Microsoft has their thing. Obviously, who knows going in the future, like who else can create a subscription service or how that's all going to go. But my whole thing is like Microsoft's at the point here where they need subscribers, and Gears was the best bet for them because it was a high profile game. It was, another entry in an acclaimed series, and it happened to actually be quality. It was actually a really good title, because a lot of their earlier games like Crackdown 3 this year was a piece of garbage, in my opinion. I know other people might disagree. But I don't think Crackdown 3 really moved the needle for Game Pass subscriptions, but I think Gears 5 did. So that's what, and this is essentially why Microsoft went out and bought all these studios, and why they bought Obsidian, and why they're building the initiative, is because they know gamers want games, and they want games easily accessible, big titles, small titles, medium titles, and easy ways to access it. Now, do I think Gears 5 is going to sell less than Gears 4? I really do. I think this is going to be the first example of a game that is going to buck the trend of, hey, if your game's in Game Pass, it sells better, right? That's what Phil Spencer has said. That's what a bunch of other developers have said, that, hey, we put our games in Game Pass and our sales are pretty damn good. More people bought it than we thought it would, right? Phil's talked about that. I think Gears is going to be that first example of a game that's like, no, sales were depressed because it was in Game Pass. Mainly because of how heavy it was marketed for Game Pass. Also because I think people know what Game Pass is now, whereas like last year it was more new. Sea of Thieves is like the first one to come out, and so is State of Decay. Now more people know about it. Microsoft is offering all these great deals to get into. So I think this is going to be that first game.
You'd be surprised, I think you'd be surprised, because like people, like, there are like the whole idea of that sort of virality that easy access brings to the sales of Gears like that is still happening. Like you've got Dr. Disrespect, who was hating on the game really hardcore, still been playing Gears here and there, and he's been pulling off some seriously good plays too. Like I've been watching like some clips of him playing Gears on Twitter. Would he be playing that? I don't think like they gave him a key for it. I
Well, I mean, you
wouldn't.
don't need to give him a key for it. It's on freaking Game Pass on the PC, right?
Well, that's the point. That's the point I'm making. Is that like any streamer can see that Doctor Disrespect is getting hits by playing this game, and they'll think, "Oh, I can get hits too," and they'll play the game as well. And then people will watch people playing the game and think, "Oh, I'm going to buy that because it looks kind of interesting." And that's the virality aspect, which has helped
Well,
some
will
indie
they
games.
buy it or will they check it out for free on Game Pass?
Well, some people will buy it because some people just don't want the sub, and they don't.
Well, yeah,
They're,
sure.
they're sort of smart, and they're like, "Oh, I don't want to get
But
locked
I
into another
think
subscription."
there were a significant portion of people for Gears 5 that opted for the Game Pass version instead of buying it. To the point where I don't expect, when you look at Gears 5 sales versus Gears 5 sales, I think they're going to be down. But I think Microsoft would be 100% okay with that if it gets people into the subscription service of Game Pass. That's kind of what I'm saying. Now, I have a couple super chats that I need to kind of read off here. We got one from Axel that says, Jez and Rand, I have a Gears 5 question. You both hated the DBs in Gears 4. What are your thoughts on the DBs in Gears 5? Much better, because they weren't the only enemy you fought for basically 2 acts in a row. And they changed it up. Sometimes when you fought them in Gears 5, they were the regular enemies, and then sometimes they were the infected enemies, which you could stealth kill. So I thought they did a much better job with the DBs in Gears 5. Jez?
Yeah, I love the. They basically took all the feedback from the DBs in Gears 1 where they weren't satisfying to kill because it felt like you were shooting a brick wall made of metal, and they sort of added some flesh to them, which made them more fun to use with the chainsaw, and they added weak points which are more satisfying to shoot. Like the stumps were really creepy, and like if you shot their fleshy bits, you did more damage, which is more interesting than fighting the regular DBs. So I think they did a really good job. I actually tweeted some concept art of other DB styles that they had designed from a concept artist, which did some work on Gears, I believe. There's like a lot of things they can do with that. Like biomechanical stuff can be really super creepy. I hope they keep them for the next game and really explore. But I will say that, Rand, I did find the pseudo stealth sections to be a bit tedious, especially when like if you do all the side missions, you get like at least 4 or 5, maybe 6 segments where you have to sort of walk slowly and pull the things out the back of the DBs, and it becomes almost like a little bit of a puzzle. Like, how can I get to this DB without alerting all the others? And in the end, I just like, oh, screw this, and just shoot them and alert them all and try and kill them all. But I did find that to be a bit overplayed,
I
but
mean,
it was
sure.
mostly good.
I mean, but you also knew it was like, well, I could just have a big firefight right now with all these things and kill them. Or for me, I try to take out as many stealth. I love it when a game gives you the option to go through a section like, killing people without them noticing you, or getting past people without them noticing. So I always choose to do that. So that's what I always did.
Mm-hmm.
We also have a super chat from Spider-Man. He wants to know, great show. What do you guys think of Death Stranding gameplay at TGS? The dialogue of horrendous. I don't get the hype for this game. We talked about that last week. I'm still getting the game day one. I don't really let other people's opinions of something bother me. I know a lot of people do on Twitter and YouTube. Some of it looks okay. Some of it, yeah. Like, I didn't watch the 50-minute gameplay of the game because I want to experience it for myself. Hopefully I get the game and I like it a lot. But if I get the game and it's not very good, I'll be the first one to say, like, what was Kojima thinking?
I trust Kojima for better or worse, and he said, "Don't watch the footage if you trust me." So I'm just gonna go in blind. I'm gonna buy it. I trust him. He's made some of my favorite games of all time. We talked about it last week. I'm just gonna go for it. Hopefully it's as good as I'm expecting it to be. If it isn't, I'll be with Rand bitching about it. No doubt. We'll wait and see. When's it come out?
November 8th. November 8th it comes out, yeah.
Still quite a while away then.
Yeah, like less than 2 months away. But yeah, we still got all the rest of this month in October to go through. And Snazzy Crowd in Super Chat says, hey, Sony confirmed they do have the publishing rights for the first game, Sunset. So apparently Sony did confirm that they have the publishing rights for it. So.
Well, that's a solid pickup then for those dudes.
I did see some rumors floating around that there's a remaster for Alan Wake coming to the Switch, the PlayStation, and the Xbox.
Oh, that isn't a rumor. I think I saw that on YouTube earlier, like a official video.
I mean,
Unless I'm going crazy.
I don't think
Unless
there's
I'm going crazy.
You must be crazy because that would be huge news if there like Alan Wake was coming to all those platforms. Because I mean, essentially that would almost be as good as Alan Wake 2 coming at some point.
Okay, I'm going crazy, but like, that is awesome though. That is awesome.
If it's true, like I want it to be true. I would love. I'll be the first one to play. Like I know there's the kind of remastered, like like a lot of it played the earlier part of this generation, but there are some games that I would play again. Namely, the Mass Effect trilogy. If EA ever remastered the Mass Effect trilogy, I'd be there day one. If EA remastered Dead Space 1 and 2, sure they could remaster the Dead Space trilogy. I wouldn't play 3, but I would love to play through Dead Space 1 and 2 again, remastered. And Alan Wake would be another game that I would play through if it was remastered. And is there any games that you would play again, Jez, if they decided to remaster it, whether it's for this gen or potentially for PlayStation 5? Like a game was like, all right, finally we're bringing this back, and it's like, oh man, I'm totally playing this again.
Like you said it, Mass Effect. Like my absolute dream is that they remaster Mass Effect 2 and 3 and remake Mass Effect 1 with like the updated mechanics from Mass Effect 2. I would probably cry. That's that. Like if they remade Dragon Age Origins as well, like with basically literally identical gameplay, but with updated graphics and maybe updated faces. Although I don't know if BioWare's up to the challenge after Andromeda. I don't know if they did that stuff, I'd be all over it. Like there's so many classic games that I'd just love to play again, but with tweaks,
Yeah,
Dragon Age and Mass Effect are right up there.
Carl Newman in chat says he wants a KOTOR remaster. Enrico Kitching says he wants a Max Payne remaster.
Oh god, yeah, if they remade Max Payne 1 and 2 and 3, screw it. I actually really do as well.
There's a lot of games that would be I'd totally be down to play again, and Alan Wake would be definitely one of those games for sure. Jez,
Silent Hill. Metal Gear Solid 1. I know that they redid Metal Gear Solid 1 for the GameCube, and that was pretty good. But they never released it on anything other than the GameCube, as far as I'm aware. That's really weird.
No.
Oh well.
But moving on to the next topic, which is a perfect segue here from my buddy Maka91 in Productions. Maka91 Productions is YouTube channel. Check it out. He makes great guides. And I think he just put up a guide for Wish You Were Here, the Xbox Live Gold title for the week. Get you 1,000 gamer score in less than 20 minutes, I think. And Jez, I don't know if you saw this, but there's a Game Pass quest going on right now where every point of gamer score gets you a Microsoft rewards point up to 10,000. So if you get 10,000 gamer score, you get 10,000 reward points.
What the hell? Really?
Yeah, really. Like,
I should tell my news team about that.
Yeah, so you can basically get 10,000 Microsoft reward points. I think it has to be Game Pass titles, though. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I'm pretty sure it does. So there are easy games like Abzu, Old Man's Journey, which, plug here, Maka has guides for if you really need it, right? I think it was supposed to start today, but yeah, so easy money that you can basically use the Microsoft reward. I actually, you know what? The other day I used the 25. I had 2,500 points, Microsoft rewards. I used it, got a $25 gift code, and I bought the new Plants vs Zombies game. So that was pretty cool.
One?
The new Plants vs Zombies game. Yeah, the Battle for Neighborville.
Is that already available for pre-order?
You can play it right now. They put it out as the Founders Edition where you can play it, and they're adding stuff every week. So it's $30 Founders Edition. You can play it now. And
how the hell did I miss this?
I don't know. I mean, when
did this happen?
It came out. It came out right before Gears.
I have
want to
no
say,
idea how it
or
is.
last week. So yeah, Plants vs Zombies: Battle for Neighborville. If you get it now, Founders Edition, I think it's like 6 weeks early before it actually launches on October 18th. You can play it. They're always adding new stuff every week. It's $30, and when it actually officially launches in October, it's $40. So
Oh snap! I'm gonna pick that up. I had no idea. I
yeah.
don't think I even got a press release about that.
Well, it's like, yeah, I think they've done a bad job marketing it. But what I'm saying was, I had $25 of Microsoft reward points. I used it to get a $25 gift card, and I just used that to get Plants vs. Zombies. So it didn't cost me anything. So 10,000 points, for 10,000 gamer score, I mean, that's essentially $10. So, you basically have like over a week to get points. So look into that. But yeah, so the no more monthly active users, Jazz. No more Xbox. Huh?
Rip. Yeah, so this is the news that Microsoft's changing its investor metrics for how they report Xbox's growth, and they're switching away from monthly active users, which surprised me, and they're moving towards combined game revenue. Is that right?
Uh oh. Sounds like my dog's going crazy upstairs. Just like percentage growth, right? Of
I'm not fully versed on what exactly they're reporting on, but I just know that they're not doing the monthly active users anymore. And I'm gonna have to do a full analysis on what this is and probably write an article about it because I've been on vacation. I gotta have some time off, guys. But my immediate reaction was to getting rid of the monthly active users was they're gonna be meaningless soon. And I'll tell you why they're gonna be potentially meaningless soon. And I'll tell you why for that is because Gears Pop's actually doing pretty well. And one game that's going to be doing very, very well, if all projections, come to pass, is Minecraft Earth. And like, if Minecraft Earth inflates Xbox Live usership by like as much as I'm expecting it to, those monthly active users are going to be volatile as hell, and they're going to be meaningless to an investor. Like, because then you have to sort of start breaking it down and being granular, like which games are doing well on. Like when it comes to Xbox Live, it's like which are the Minecraft Earth users, which are the Xbox Live users. Even now, it's hard. You don't even know like what the actual metrics are. Like how many of those users are just Minecraft players who don't even touch the rest of the ecosystem. Because you need an Xbox Live account to play a lot of these games. So as Microsoft diversifies away from Xbox console towards xCloud and mobile games, if Minecraft Earth is as successful as people are expecting. Oh, and also you got Minecraft Dungeons hitting like PlayStation 4 and Nintendo Switch. Like presumably the Switch version will require Xbox Live as well. At least the Switch version will. So how do you break that down? I think it's more useful for investors if they do report on revenue. If I was an investor, I wouldn't be interested in the monthly active users. I'd be more interested in the revenue, which is kind of surprising to me, because it kind of exposes Microsoft to the sort of expenditure stuff, right? If they've got like really high spending, that could also inflate the revenue streams. So I don't know. Basically, this is another sort of situation where it's like don't trust the armchair investors, because there are so many other factors to consider with this change. It might seem like a little change, and for the end user, for gamers, it's meaningless, but for the armchair people who want to bash Microsoft and stuff like that and pretend that they know anything about running a billion-dollar company, who don't have access to the same resources that I have access to, for example. I actually have access to experts who I can ask about this stuff, and they can let me know stuff that even I don't know, which is quite a lot of stuff, as it turns out. But the difference between this podcast and I guess other podcasts is like I'll actually do my due diligence and check before I make like a real judgment on it. But there's just loads of factors to consider, I guess, is what I'm saying in a roundabout sort of way.
So this is what's changing, right? So Xbox content and services revenue growth is the new metric, right? And they're defining it as year-over-year percentage revenue growth for Xbox content and services. And Xbox content and services include Xbox Live, which is transactions, subscriptions, cloud services, and advertising, video games, and third-party video game royalties. And for investor value, they say key performance indicator for long-term health of gaming business across content, community, and cloud. It replaces gaming revenue and Xbox Live monthly active users, investor metrics, and gaming revenue continues to be disclosed in the SEC filings. So some people would be like, hey, they're hiding their revenue, which they won't be talking about in the quarterly reports, but Microsoft has to report the end of the year results when they file for the SEC. So gaming revenue will still be there. Essentially, the only thing that's really changing is Xbox Live monthly active users, the amount that they would show. And it's like Jez said, when Minecraft Earth comes out and all these other games that are also on Switch. So like suddenly you go from 60 million Xbox Live monthly active users, and if Minecraft Earth takes off like they think it will, well then suddenly you go from like 60 million users to 100 million users, right? And is that really is that really a valuable piece of information then? That Xbox Live really grow by 50 million, or is it just 50 million people playing Minecraft Earth? So it's one of those things. Now, the thing is, people will say, and I've already thought this myself, is like they do give out less information than Sony does. Like you compare what Sony gives to investors to what Microsoft gives to investors about Xbox, it's night and day. Like Sony is like, we've shipped this many PlayStations, we sell this many third-party games, our PlayStation Network makes this amount of money, we have this many PlayStation Now subscribers. I mean, they are basically giving everything about PlayStation to the investors, because let's be honest, PlayStation is basically like all of Sony, right? For the most part, like PlayStation is extremely important to Sony, and if you're going to invest in Sony, you'd want to know, hey, how is PlayStation looking? So it'd be very, very bad for Sony, considering PlayStation is their number one product, if they were basically trying to hide the data. Now, if you're an investor at Microsoft or looking at investing at Microsoft, I mean, what are you looking at? Does all that information about Xbox matter? Yeah, it does. Of course it does matter. But to an investor, all they want to look at is Xbox. Is it worthy of being at Microsoft? Is it growing year over year, quarter by quarter? If it is, that's all they really care about. And I also do think, I mean, let's be honest here, Jez. I think in their next quarterly report, they were going to have some really, really tough hardware decline revenue, because they aren't selling a lot of Xboxes, and this is also a way to basically say not have to report that or not have to show that. That basically like, oh yeah, hardware declined by $300 million, which means they sold, you know what I mean? So, I mean, this basically is a move to help kind of smooth that out. Now, what I kind of wish was for them to change, if you aren't given that metric and everything's about like subscriptions and all that stuff, why not just be like, hey, here's the number for Xbox Game Pass subscribers. And then you can have that number increase or decrease going forward, and that would be a good indicator of growth. Like, hey, we had 8 million in quarter one, up to 10 million in quarter two, up to 14 million in quarter three. That would be a good, indicator of growth. But people also look at it wrong. It's not that Microsoft is really hiding information because they can't, because the revenue will come out at the SEC, right? Is that they are really kind of putting everything out, and I mean everything, and I don't really mean everything, but look at it like this. They're reporting on growth of revenue, right? So what happens if they don't have revenue growth? What happens if everything regresses from year to year? Those reports are going to look absolutely horrific if revenue from Xbox decreases every single year and quarter to quarter. I mean, that'll get out. Like, so if there's a big downturn, people will know about it because it'll be shown off in the thing. So it's not like Microsoft is skating by and like trying to fool everybody. They're basically putting their foot down and being like, we're gonna grow and we're gonna make more money every single year than the previous year because this is the one metric that we want to spotlight. And they better be right that they're gonna grow, because if they don't grow, then the only metric they have is going to be a negative one. Right?
Yeah.
So they better be careful. They better hope that their plan, because they say they have a plan and they're just executing. They better hope that all this stuff is going to bring in way more money, because if it doesn't, then those reports are going to look real, real bad. And Space Jesus says, well, they'll change the metric again, Rand. I don't know what they can change the metric to again. You went from reporting Xbox hardware numbers to not reporting them. You went from reporting monthly active users to not reporting them. And now you literally have the one area that is supposed to be important to them, which is growth. And if you don't grow, well, what's the other metric? Nothing? That wouldn't be a really good look. So I'm just saying, you'll know soon enough. You'll know eventually whether or not this is all working out for them, because it'll either be like there's no growth and Xbox is in a bad position, or hey, they're growing every single year and they're making a ton of money. Either way, I mean, I think, what was it? For as bad as people say Xbox is doing this generation, I think overall they make more money than everybody except for Tencent and Sony. Am I correct on that, Jez?
In terms of gaming?
Yeah, in terms of gaming revenue.
I think so, yeah.
So I mean, for a failed company, like a lot of people think Xbox is, they're doing pretty good. They're doing pretty all right.
Yeah, they're the third biggest. In terms of revenue, they're the third biggest. Tencent, Sony, and then Microsoft. So they ain't doing bad. And it takes a lot to kill a company that big. Like, for example, the Dreamcast killed Sega, but the Wii U was nowhere near killing Nintendo, because Nintendo is just a massive company. They've got billions of dollars in savings. They could run at a deficit for decades, I'm sure I read somewhere, because of how big they've been in the past, So like, whereas like a Wii U would have killed Sega, and we did with the Dreamcast. Well, it didn't even kill Sega. They just changed their business model and became a publisher, But they couldn't sell consoles anymore. But Nintendo can weather that storm, and Microsoft obviously is one of the few companies that can seriously waste money. I mean, Bing wasn't profitable for what, 8 years or something? That's the definition of loss leader right there. So I think there's a lot of fake concern. I always see a lot of people on Twitter saying like, "Oh my God, how are you making money with this? Like, I'm so worried about Xbox and stuff like that." It's like, come on, this company's worth $1 trillion. What are you playing at? It's just concern trolling. That's what it's called.
A lot of people concerned about Xbox. A lot of people concerned about the success, or at least they view the success of Gears. I've never seen so many concern threads pop up at the same time on Reset Era. Like, so concerned. And I mean, look, I really like Gears of War a lot. Like Gears 5. Like, if that's the template of like first party and the type of quality that they're gonna have moving forward, that's gonna be like awesome. But I mean, there are some things, like problems with it, like all the server issues and problems with the game they have. I don't think that's really cool. Like, I would hope that you would have a more, stable launch, especially if you're advertising people to play Game Pass and play it early, but then like your servers aren't stable enough to actually, handle the influx of people that are going to be playing your game through Game Pass early. Then maybe don't advertise Game Pass early. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, if you're going to advertise it, make sure you can actually, provide that service. And there's way too many people that have issues that are tied to, like, I don't know, a bad update or whatever. But then some of the microtransactions, I know that's a big cause of debate. Like, you go into the store and there's like, you can get 5 skins in this for $25. I mean, that's expensive. Like, considering the game itself costs $60 and you're selling like 5 digital skins and an emote for $25, I think that's kind of outrageous. But I mean, at the same time, it's cosmetic, so I know a lot of people will be like, well, you're just hand waving it away by saying it's cosmetic, right? And I don't know, like I just can't find it in me to care about cosmetic stuff because it doesn't bother me. You know what I mean? Like, I was pissed about the Star Wars Battlefront 2 cards in the loot boxes because I thought that was egregious because it changed the gameplay of the game, right?
And like Fallout, it's funny because Fallout 76 right now, while the rest of us have moved on and forgotten about Fallout 76, they are slowly creeping in pay-to-win stuff in the store. Like, they've got like a bunch of gameplay changing stuff now that you can buy with real money because like the cosmetics weren't selling enough or something, or the cosmetics just, I don't know. But now they've got like game mechanics which you can buy as add-ons which cost money, which they said they wouldn't do. So I think it's like people, part of it is worrying about that slippery slope. Because Todd Howard said, oh yeah, our Fallout 76 things are cosmetic, but then they weren't. So like, then you start to wonder like, will there be a slippery slope, stuff like that. I don't think Microsoft will get away with that. And on the one hand, it's kind of annoying, but on the other hand, it's like, well, do you want this live service with free maps and, you know, all this extra stuff? And do you want those devs to get paid? Well, if you want them to get paid, then there's got to be some kind of revenue stream on top of the game itself. So, I don't know.
Yeah. Got another one of those scam calls. Scam likely. They're trying to scam me again, Jez. It's a different one too, because I blocked the caller on the last one. But yeah, so Silverback says your mods suck, say something negative about Sony, great. Say something negative about Microsoft, but you get banned. Look, all I said was that if you're going to using the term pony and Xbot to describe fans of either platform, I don't really like that. So I told people to, time people out if they use that sort of that language, including like vulgar language, like, racist terms and stuff. There's better ways to discourse about something, but if you don't say that, and if you're just put your opinion out there, then I'm fine. Like, I don't have an issue with people saying something about negative about Sony or something negative about Microsoft. Microsoft is an angel here. There's plenty of negative things you can say about Microsoft, and I'm just saying there's just, there's certain rules you have to kind of abide by, and that's one of them. So if you said it multiple times and they give you a fair enough warning, then I'm sorry. If you really want to be unbanned, I'll unban you. Just DM me on Twitter and I'll remove, I'll unban your account. But yeah, nobody gets banned here for having a negative opinion about Microsoft or Sony. So yeah, that's not it.
You will get banned if you have a negative opinion about Monster Hunter, though.
Or yeah, Jez will ban you for it.
Sorry.
Yeah, so what were we talking about? I kind of
Gears.
Yeah, it's the microtransaction stuff. Like,
microtransaction stuff.
It's just cosmetic. I just don't care about cosmetics. I just can't find it within me to like even muster like a fake outrage about it, because I look at it and I'm just like, and I understand like some of that stuff used to be given away for free. Like, I know it does come across as a bit greedy to me. Like, you're selling flags, country flags, and you're selling them for $7 a piece. It's like,
see, that is
like, why couldn't
they're putting a premium on country pride there?
It was like, why not just give those? Why not just let people have that? Why, country flags. I'm not saying like everything needs to be free, but like, so if I want to put
a 3D skin, sell that, because that's work. But like a flag, that's a PNG, man. I could make that. I'm offering my services to the coalition right now. If you want PNG flags, I'll make them in Photoshop. I'll do it for free, so people can have them for free.
It just seems a tad bit greedy to me. Like, I don't know why the flags are locked behind $7. You know, and they have this whole thing where it's like, oh, we have all this free stuff, supply drops, and then like all the stuff you can get in tour duty with the challenges and the stuff in the premium stuff. Like, so as long as it's cosmetic, I don't care. But some of it, like some of the prices, and I've said that with Fortnite, like $20 for a single skin. I'm gonna say what it is. It's greedy. But that seems to be the business model that everybody kind of accepts. Fortnite made all that money. You know, I think the flags should be free. And even like the other flags, like the pride banners and stuff that you need to, you know, require a certain amount of like scrap or whatever to craft, those should probably be free too. Or at least you should be able to pick one and actually have it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, oh, I want this Mexico flag. I'm gonna pick that, and that's the one free one you get. And then if you want other flags, maybe they're $2 a piece or something. Not like you're locked out from showing your civic pride if you pay us $7. It just
I
seems
didn't
a little greedy
realize
to
that
me.
even the pride flags cost
The pride
money.
flags were, you can't buy them. They're not premium content, but I don't think they're earnable. I think they're only one of the things you can get is by crafting them, which is by getting duplicates of the same cards you already got. So yeah.
So that's still greedy because they're sort of like, you know, they're buying your time basically.
So
Or selling. I don't know.
yeah, so I mean, it's like yeah, you can say it's just cosmetic. You can't really complain, but still, I'm not really complaining. I'm just looking at him like it just seems a tad bit greedy. But I mean, there's ways they can make it better. At least it's not loot boxes. I mean, that's great. You know, I hate loot boxes. I hate loot boxes in any game. I don't think they're worthwhile. It's just. I just look at some of the stuff and I'm like, it could be cheaper. Like the flags could be $1. Or they could be free. Like, I don't know. Like, $7 seems way too expensive. But moving on. Miggy D with the Super Chat says, there are some of these points Jim Sterling mentioned. Yeah, that's right. There was 2 very prominent YouTubers this week that put out negative Xbox videos. One from Jim Sterling, which basically said Microsoft is the reason video games are bad now. Which I'm sure maybe I watched. And I don't know if you watched, Jazz.
Nah, I couldn't be bothered.
I mean, he basically said that Microsoft is one of the contributors to the normalization of microtransactions and loot boxes.
Well,
this generation.
of course they are. Of course they are. Well, not even this generation. Microsoft basically invented it. They were the first company that allowed developers to sell micro DLC for Xbox Live. They did it on the 360, and then Bethesda were like, "Oh, let's try and make some horse armor." They made some horse armor, sold millions of them, and then everyone sort of realized, you know what? We can sell tiny little packages of DLC and make a ton of extra money on top of the game sales here. So yeah, Microsoft basically invented that. They basically invented that. But at the same time, it's kind of like, well, if you want these massive experiences with higher fidelity graphics, you want these developers to not have to work themselves to death to get your little games and stuff like that. If you want them to actually make a decent living for the amount of joy they bring into the world, I'm okay with it, personally. I like Microsoft does things like make the adaptive controller. They do things like provide Microsoft and Sony and Nintendo. They provide billions of hours of fun in a world that is otherwise a load of crap. So I'm okay with them making a bit of money on the side with flags and stuff like that. Yeah, it's greedy, but at the same time, it's kind of like this industry needs to grow, you know, and game costs are spiraling out of control. If you want games, people cried like little children when Mass Effect Andromeda's faces weren't next gen enough, you know? They cried about it. Like whined and whined about it. And I'm sure some of these YouTubers put out videos about how bad it was. But at the same time, they don't want the companies to invest more money and stuff. And you could argue that, yeah, maybe they shouldn't pay out so much dividends to investors. Yeah, maybe EA executives don't need to be paid as much bonuses and they should redistribute that money instead. But unfortunately, that's capitalism, baby. And then we get reductive, and then we can get into the real nitty gritty of it. And ultimately, I don't know if Microsoft is really here to solve everything that's wrong with society through the medium of gaming. So I think it makes for a great YouTube video, great headline, a great title. But I think when you really get into it, I don't think it's as big of a deal. personally. Ruined gaming? I don't think so.
Well, his whole stance is that a $60 product, everything within that $60 product except for expansion packs should be free. So he has this whole stance that microtransactions in a AAA video game, because that's all Jim. Like, that is something he won't stand for. And I mean, yeah, Microsoft were they were doing stuff with Rise, they were doing stuff with their own games. I mean, he brings up Local Cycle in this video. It's like, I get it. Like, Local Cycle is a horrible video game, and Microsoft hasn't had the best generation putting out quality video games. Like, I get it. But if you're talking about, like, the rise of here's the way I look at it. Is I think Microsoft is culpable to an extent because they allow these things to happen on their platform. But then
they encourage it.
Well, here's the other thing. It's like, who benefits from microtransactions in games? The people selling the microtransactions and the people benefiting from them. So it's Microsoft and it's also Sony. Like, nobody talks about that really. They talk about, well, Microsoft had microtransactions in Rise. Microsoft had, loot boxes and Gears. They had the microtransactions in Halo, which they made that stupid, condescending, like, oh, this is that stupid, like, if you guys remember, like, animated video about Halo 5, right? Yeah, Microsoft was at the forefront of microtransactions this gen, right? But then I also look at it as like, well, Sony had and it isn't like an if and or. It's like Sony had microtransactions in Uncharted 4 and Last of Us Last of Us multiplayer and stuff. But I always look at it like Microsoft and Sony allow these companies to put in a lot of their stuff. They directly benefit, both of them, from the sale of microtransactions and loot boxes and stuff. So when someone buys a $20 loot skin on PlayStation Network, Sony takes a 30% cut. When that same skin's sold on Xbox, Microsoft takes a 30% cut. So guess what? They're as culpable for the rise of all this stuff as the people making it, because they're benefiting just as much, if not more, than any of these companies, because they're taking a cut from all of the loot boxes and all of the microtransactions on every single one of the games across their entire platform. They basically enabled it. If Microsoft and Sony would have came out and said, no, that's not going to be, that's not going to be on our platform, you're not going to be able to sell that, sorry, then it wouldn't exist. But because the two platform holders, are essentially the three with Nintendo, all allow it, because Nintendo sells microtransactions with, Fortnite, then the three platform holders, like, just give us more money, because that's at the end of the day what happens. More money. It is what it is, man. Shout out to Darge Knight. Evening, gentlemen. We appreciate the super chat, brother. Hope you're enjoying the show. And if you guys are enjoying the show at home, make sure you hit the like button. It really does honestly help out. And, share this out. Subscribe to the channel. Follow Jez on Twitter. All that information. Hey, if you want to listen to the podcast later, if you don't want to be here live. Jez, recently, we put it up on Spotify. So you can listen to it on iTunes. You can listen to it on Spotify. You can listen to it on Google Play. You can listen to it on SoundCloud. You can listen to it pretty much whatever podcast app you want. Because I know people, they're watching it mobile, streaming data and stuff like that. It's not always the best. Me and Jez, like, all we care about is that you watch the show, you enjoy the show. We don't necessarily care if you watch live. Just watch it whenever you want to watch it and enjoy it, right? Which is why we offer that, for those that want to watch it later. I mean, because people do. I mean, I think we get like 3,000 downloads. Usually an episode, from like iTunes and other things. So it's like, it's not
in that vicinity.
Yeah. So it's all pretty good. So as far as that, like the Jim Sterling thing, he has some points. He does the clickbait thing over the top, AAA, and I like Jim Sterling. I've been watching his videos for a long time. Read his articles back when he was on Destructoid. It doesn't get me upset when anybody does this kind of stuff. I just kind of like look at it as like, hey man, Sony and Microsoft, they benefit from this as much as all those other companies. They're as part to blame as anybody is. It's
when you actually get back to the source, you end up just in a reductionist loop. It's kind of like, if Microsoft didn't do it first, Tencent would have done it first. Maybe Tencent would have done it even worse. Maybe it would have been 10 times worse if Tencent had done it. Maybe EA would have done it. Maybe Steam would have done it, because Steam has its whole Steamworks thing, and they sell all DLC as well, it's like it's easy to point the finger and it's easy to hate on Microsoft because it's just a meme. Everyone hates on Microsoft and it's great content. PC gamers hate Microsoft, Sony gamers hate Microsoft, and they are the majority of gamers. So it is what it is. But it's just capitalism at the end of the day. So if we really want to get into it, let's bring the whole system down. Let's bring the whole system down and have government agencies make video games that are free from loot boxes, and they can be regulated, and every game has the same budget, and we won't have to worry about any of this evil capitalism stuff.
No, I don't want the government involved with video
No,
games
no,
whatsoever.
dude,
I
dude.
don't want it. No. Here's the thing. Like, humans, especially corporate, like, people are greedy. People are insanely greedy. So look at like what like EA and Activision do. They try to take as much as they could possibly get until they overstep their bounds. Like, they thought EA was like, we're gonna loot boxes are great, surprise mechanics are amazing, and then they went the one step too far by offering cards in the loot boxes that actually impact gameplay. Because hey, that's accepted on mobile, because mobile's this pay to win model, right? And the games are free for the most part, but that's not accepted in, on the PC or Xbox or PlayStation. So they went too far, and suddenly now everyone's like gambling, all because of that. And now you have these regulations and you have like the government looking into it. It's all because of greed. They went too far. They had this good thing that was working. They took that extra step that they shouldn't have taken, and it bit them in the hand. Now they gotta backtrack. Now you have people at like E3 and these press conferences when like there's microtransactions in the game and they celebrate well, at least we don't have loot boxes. Like, that's something to be like excited about. Like, we don't have loot boxes. You shouldn't have, you know what I mean? Like, that's not a good, yeah, it's a good thing you don't, but the fact that we're applauding people for not putting on in loot boxes is ridiculous in my opinion, right? Mm-hmm. So like, they went too far, they got screwed for it, and now they're paying for the consequences. And hopefully we don't have to pay for more consequences and the government actually having to regulate the video games, because the ESA should have been doing it because that's what they were supposed to be doing. You got to be looking out to the consumers somehow. And some of the stuff that they were doing with loot boxes was egregious. Even some of the stuff they do in like NBA 2K is egregious. But then there was the other video by Video Game Donkey, who actually, I watch a lot of his videos. I found the dude completely funny. I watched his Fall of Xbox video. Now, you may wonder to yourself, hey, Rand, why are there so many, like, negative Xbox videos that come out? Why do people keep on beating that dead horse? And it's because, well, it's not dead. Because, like it just says, and YouTube has kind of admitted, outrage gets a lot of clicks. And clicks equals ad revenue. And ad revenue's money, baby. And you know what is always good? Is bashing on Xbox. You know what's good about bashing on Xbox? Oh, baby, it gets you clicks. And those clicks brings you monies, right? So it's always good to, if you think like, man, what is there to talk about on YouTube? And sometimes there's really nothing. And then a YouTuber will come out with, real opinion, like Xbox sucks. Or something about Xbox and how it blows now. They had literally nothing else they could talk about, but they went to the well that they knew would get views, because those type of videos do, and they knew would make money. Like, look, Xbox had a pretty bad generation. Like, I don't know how many times it needs to be said. I'm certainly not going to make a video about it all the time. I've said my piece. I haven't liked the games the last couple years. They haven't really created a lot of new IP. There's a lot of things that Microsoft did wrong this gen. I'm not going to constantly make videos about it and be like, they're the cause of all the gaming problems in the world, or, but like Donkey's video was funny. Seriously. Go ahead, Jez.
It just makes me sad, because I said to you before, like, I worked with the guy with brittle bone disease who really benefited from the Xbox adaptive controller. And like, Microsoft didn't have to make that. They could have just, plowed all their money, all that R&D money into, like, I don't know, more ways to sell Xbox Game Pass, or ways to make loot boxes less or more palatable to angry gamers. They could have invested it like that, but they invested it in technology that helps people access fun. There are companies out there that deserve our ire, like Monsanto and Nestle and stuff like that. I don't know how you can get so mad at loot boxes. Like, yeah, they suck, but do you have to like have all this righteous indignation about it?
People
Can't you use that
pretend
energy
people
on
pretend to have righteous indignation about it because they know other people are that upset about it, and they use their outrage
the
to
thing,
drive.
man.
I mean, that's how the quartering. That's how the quartering exists.
I like
You know.
I speak to people on YouTube, on Twitter about some of this stuff sometimes, and I just go like, "Why are you so mad?" And sometimes they just go like, "You know what? Actually, I don't know. I don't know why I'm so mad." And it's just because like social media has this effect on you of sort of pigeonholing you into an opinion just because like everyone else feels this way. You feel like, oh, I shouldn't break the mold. I should feel that way as well because it's effortful and sometimes depressing to have an opinion that no one else seems to have. Like I would like probably be a lot more chilled out and less stressed if I was covering PlayStation because I wouldn't have to feel like I'm having to explain all this stuff over and over again,
Yeah.
about why Xbox isn't dying and why like I get people in my DMs concerned because I saw a YouTube video saying Xbox is in trouble and stuff like that. And it's just like, they're not. It's okay. You know. There are things going on in the world that really do deserve your attention, like the Amazon rainforest on fire.
It's just tough for me to pretend to overtly care about a lot of stuff. Like, you know what I mean? Like microtransactions. Like I don't. I can't get. I don't know. Maybe I'm different about it. I don't get the outrage. I mean, I get it. It's like some people are, and but like a lot of people take advantage of other people's outrage, and they make videos about it, and they kind of play into all that stuff.
I was genuinely pissed about the Battlefront thing.
Well, no, I was pissed too because with the Battlefront thing, I was thinking like, all right, so if we allow this where it's pay to win, where you can actually someone who pays a lot of money can get a better character, and that's accepted, then it's only a matter of time before every other publisher and every other developer includes that in their games to get more money. So then, competitive multiplayer is essentially ruined at that point. That was kind of my whole thing. Was that it was going to ruin, the multiplayer, and but there was bite back on it, and people were like, no, this far, no further. And then people went to Disney about it. I mean, we know what all happened about it, and they were like, we can't have this, and yeah, it became this huge big thing. But I mean, as for Donkey's video, I mean, I thought Donkey's video was incredibly funny. I mean, there's a lot of points made in the video that you watch it and you're like, yeah, I mean, it's pretty true. The only thing I kind of took issue with was like, I think he said like Gears 5 was just an Xbox 360 game with the new fresh coat of paint, while at the same time praising the shit out of Uncharted 4 as being like innovative and stuff. And I'm just like, I wouldn't do that, but that's like pretty much the only thing I would say is like, yeah, I mean, you look at like what Microsoft brought with the original Xbox and all the games and all the exclusives that they had, to like what they did with the 360 as time went on, which I've talked about. Like by the end of the 360 gen, I mean, it was all just Kinect. Microsoft didn't care one bit for the hardcore gamers that had got them to where they were. And it was all about that casual dollar with the stupid Kinect and everything they were making there. And it was just like, oh man. And then they built the system, that relied on this casual, stupid Kinect for casual people, but they priced it at this insane hardcore price. And in doing so, they basically, what's the word I'm looking for? They, compromise the system in comparison to the PlayStation, which you're still seeing effects of today when Borderlands 3 in 2019 on the base PS4 runs at 1080p and the Xbox One version runs at 900p. It's like, what were you thinking? And then when you listen to interviews with Phil and everybody else, it's like, yeah, the brass at the time were completely out of touch with what Xbox gamers wanted. You're like, yeah, no shit. No shit you were. You're be like, let's make Dance Central and stupid Star Wars dancing game and all these stupid ass Connect bullshit.
Oh my god, I forgot about that Star Wars dancing game.
Like, come on, man. Like, there is some truth to all that stuff. I mean,
There is truth.
And they
Microsoft
paid
isn't
for
blameless.
it. They're paying for that shit now, man. I mean, come on.
Yeah. There just comes a point where you have to like move on, I think. And like the Phil Spencer's Microsoft is pretty much proven that it's not the Microsoft of old. Like Microsoft's like, do we have to punish Microsoft forever? It feels like some people just want to punish Microsoft for the whole Internet Explorer thing in the 90s.
Well, I think people just want a punching bag. There's always got to be a punching bag. But there was a reason why I brought up the Switch earlier when I talked about how, the Wii U failed, but look what they are with the Switch. There's always, there's the setback and then the comeback, right? I mean, every single one of these companies has stumbled at some point. PlayStation 3, Sony stumbled because they got so arrogant that they thought people would pay $600 for a video game system that had nothing, right? Yeah, eventually they turned it around and they're seeing success with the PlayStation. Nintendo, they put out the GameCube, which was, nowhere near as good as or as successful as their previous systems. And then they had the Wii U generation. They failed. It's not. And then you have Microsoft. The third console curse. It always tends to happen with the third console. It just sucks that they ruined this important generation with digital attachment and all this digital library stuff going in the next gen. But
this was the gen they shouldn't have lost, because this is the generation where lots of things are going to change and stuff like that. And like we've gone over this a million times, but I don't know. I just think like Microsoft, they don't really deserve all this permanent hatred. It's really funny because Minecraft went out of fashion a bit in 2014, and now it's like really back in fashion again. And people forget, like, nobody credits Microsoft with any of that. Like, that literally, like, nobody even associates Minecraft with Microsoft. But it is honestly the way Phil's positioned Minecraft and all the technology that they've poured into the game that has sort of enabled it to flourish like this. The fact that it's on Switch with full crossplay and stuff like that, that's all Microsoft technology. But like no one cares. No one cares about that stuff.
No one cares. Yeah.
Because it's not for a great YouTube video. Like if I made a video saying like these are all the cool things Microsoft have done for gaming in the last 10 years or whatever, it'd like get hated to hell because it's not cool to like Microsoft,
Yeah.
It's not cool to like them, bruh.
I'm just saying, you never know what's gonna happen. Like, the setback was Xbox One. The comeback is Xbox Scarlet and what they're doing in the future. And then people will be like, "What? How could Xbox come back? I thought they were dead." It's like, well, did you think Nintendo was dead with the Wii U and Sony died with the PlayStation 3? You never know what the future brings.
No, you don't. And the future is pretty bright from where I'm sitting.
Yeah. So you know what? Let's take some questions and then we'll get out of here for a podcast that we weren't even really supposed to do today. So hit us up with any questions you may have. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed the show, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, follow Jez or myself on Twitter, all that good stuff. So get some questions in here, and we'll get out of here in a few minutes. 2 hours and be about that that kind of time limit, which for not having any like topics, Jez, we winged this one pretty good.
Yep, that's how I really treat life, is winging it, pretty much.
Winging it? Yeah, me too. I wing it as well.
Winging it, baby.
Yeah.
Let's get some questions on the go.
Rusty Bullet says, great show, guys. Thank you so much, man. Appreciate it. And Ernie says, this is why Jez mutes morons on Twitter. You don't got time for that nonsense. I mute a lot of people on Twitter, too.
Yeah, I'm just like, I'm trying to honestly reduce the amount of negative stuff in my life because I'm just like too stressed out for it, and I've like so much to do on a daily basis, and there are just people that you just annoy them. Like, there's nothing I've just discovered, there's just nothing you can do. Some people will just hate you no matter what, and like maybe I deserve it. I don't know, but it's just I'm just being myself, and I'm just doing my best, you know. And I've just discovered there's just like there are just people who like they don't want their opinions changed. They don't want any of that. What they want is to just test out their own sort of ability to test their own opinions and see how well they can argue a point that they're never going to change. That's what social media is. It's basically screaming into the void a lot of the time. So I just want to like speak to friends, talk about games, and focus on the positive stuff. Social media can be a great tool. You just have to use it correctly.
Yeah. AM wants to know any excitement for Inside Xbox next week. That's right. There's an Inside Xbox episode on the 24th, the same day that Sony is doing a State of Play, which is also the same day that the press is seeing Last of Us Part 2. So,
Well, we all know who's the narrative that's going to come out of that one. But I don't. I hope. Why they're doing an Inside Xbox? Have they got something big to show?
I doubt they have anything. I mean, they just casually dropped that there's an Inside Xbox this week, so I doubt there's anything noteworthy. I mean, I
It's
don't know.
very strange. It's very strange. Maybe it's to announce xCloud beta dates or
Well, yeah,
something.
so that was the question that Gunstar wanted to know. xCloud launches next month. When do we hear anything about it?
Right. So I would guess then that maybe this Inside Xbox is going to be all about xCloud and like what you need to do, what phones are compatible, maybe. Because I imagine there's going to be a pretty limited amount of stuff to start with, limited regions. Maybe they'll do city by city or country by country. I don't know. But it's like, it doesn't seem like to me that it's just going to be available everywhere straight away. I think there's going to be a huge amount of convolution to start with. And also, there's not going to be any iPhone support. So, sorry, Apple fans, but you're out of the party for the starting beta tests. And now that Apple's got its whole Apple Arcade thing, do they really want xCloud on their platform? I don't think so. So I think you might not even see xCloud on iPhone, to be quite honest
I
with
mean,
you.
but I mean, then again, they did, they do have support for Xbox controllers.
Oh, big whoop, you know.
Well, I mean, I mean, there's always give and take, Jez. Always give and take.
Yeah, well, I would not be. Put it this way, I would not be shocked if xCloud never comes to iPhone. Now that we've got Apple Arcade, I would not be shocked. But who knows?
I mean,
Crazy.
I guess it's possible. I don't expect it to be on iPhone day one, at least. Who knows? Like you said, they got an Apple Arcade that they got their own thing. So who knows if it will.
Thank God for Android, eh? Thank God for Android.
Nine Lives
So,
210 wants to know what Xbox game studio has a chance to take the next step.
oh well, I would say that the coalition stepped out of the 360 era very, very much with Gears 5, or at least they dipped their toe in the next era by experimenting with more advanced gameplay mechanics. I would like, I would hope that sort of Playground. I mean, this is a weird one to say because Playground Games have obviously made some of the best, most well-received Xbox games of the generation with Forza Horizon. But I'm really like sort of the next step for them is becoming a multi-studio studio and having like multiple games on the go at one time, like Forza Horizon and maybe Fable. I would love to see them to really nail that first outing into RPG world and stuff like that. But like probably if you weren't thinking of Playground and stuff like that, taking that next step, maybe from the mid-tier studios. Personally, I would like to see Undead Labs get to the next level because State of Decay 2 was barely better than State of Decay 1, in my opinion. I'm a huge State of Decay fan, but you can't deny that it wasn't the most polished or, technically advanced game. But again, it was also their first time working with the Unreal Engine, so I would hope that the next State of Decay game really does, get to the level of quality that it really needs to be. What about you, Rand? What about you, pal?
Um,
You pouring one out for compulsion?
Yeah, well, I'm always on a wait and see approach with compulsion. I really am looking for Playground. Like I know you mentioned that to see if they can actually make something that isn't a racing game and actually make something amazing, highly acclaimed, right? That'll be like a good sign that they can step forward. So I already have a high opinion of the Coalition, or a high opinion of Ninja Theory and Obsidian. Although with the Outer Worlds, maybe the Obsidian could take a leap in a lot of other people's eyes. Um,
Yeah.
so like I have a high opinion of the Coalition. I have a high opinion of Ninja Theory and Obsidian. I have a high one of Playground, but they can even jump higher depending on what happens with their RPG. I mean, Compulsion, if you want to go with the low of the low, Compulsion Games, they probably have the most to essentially prove and improve upon.
Yeah.
So, and then Undead Labs with what they did with State of Decay 1 and State of Decay 2, there's clearly, it's like, okay, this is what you guys have done. And you said, like, these things were problems, like, now you have the budget. Like, okay, you can make that jump. You become better. Do you just, are you just the same? So mainly those, but I'm kind of more like, can Playground Games become not just an amazing racing studio, but like an amazing, like one of the best studios in gaming, period. If they nail that RPG, they will be. They'll be up there with like all the other great studios out there. So, um,
Yeah.
let's see. Let's see. Let's see.
That was an
Ermi wants
interesting.
to know thoughts on Alan Wake DLC for Control, maybe Quantum Break later. Yeah, it looks like one of the DLCs, we talked about this last week, one of the expansions on Control looks like it's going to feature Alan Wake. Maybe it's a story set up for an Alan Wake 2. I'd love that. And Crispy Bomb wants to know, with Outer Worlds being day and date in Game Pass, do you think gamers on other platforms will complain for having to pay? Uh,
Mm.
I don't
I don't think
think
so.
so. I mean, if they have access to a PC, like I know a lot of gamers, a lot of PC gamers complain that uh, Outer Worlds was on Epic only, right? So if those gamers want, like, they can play it for super cheap on the Xbox store or the PC Windows store. Um,
Yeah.
like, but I don't know
My
what.
PC gaming, like when people talk about PC gaming, they think about like $5,000 rigs. They think about like spending loads of money on a graphics card that like weighs more than the PC tower and stuff like that. But the fact of the matter is, most PC gamers, the vast majority, are running 1080p systems, and they're pretty thrifty. They'll wait for Steam sales on games and stuff like that. So like, if Xbox Game Pass actually does offer decent value for money, and they can jump in and jump out of that sort of subscription based on what games are in there and stuff, I think PC gamers would be like, in general, a lot happier to pick it up on the Xbox Game Pass for PC rather than Epic Game Store. I think just on the pure basis that it offers decent value. The one piece of the puzzle that's missing from the Microsoft Store, or the new Xbox Game Store, is like mod support. But I've seen like hints in the code for some Windows builds that mod support for the new Xbox app on PC is on the way. So, Microsoft's talked about it publicly before, I think. But I think that stuff's going to be here sooner rather than later. And I think like when they start working some of that stuff into their systems on PC, I think people won't mind so much. You know,
Hmm.
I hate the Epic Game Store because they won't let me change my security information.
Oh, that sucks.
There's
Anyways,
something wrong with it.
I think that's gonna be it for us. If you guys enjoyed the show, hit the like button. If you guys are watching later on any of the other, Spotify's or iTunes or any of the podcast apps out there, what's going on? Hope you guys enjoyed the show as well. Um, Jez, you got anything to say before we get out of here?
Nope. I'm glad to be back after my vacation. It was only like 4 days. Like I'm talking like I was gone for a month or something. But like it really was like the first decently length vacation I've had for a long time. But you know, I'm glad to be back in the saddle. I'm reviewing a load of headsets next week, Rand,
Ooh, that should be fun.
and writing up pre-brief on Minecon. So if you're a Minecraft fan, Minecon is on Wednesday on the 25th, and there's a lot of cool stuff coming for Minecraft fans, Rand. I know you don't care about Minecraft, but I kind of do. I kind of like Minecraft, you know.
Yeah,
It's a pretty big game. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's a pretty big game.
I've heard of it. I like yeah, I mean I'll check out Minecraft Dungeons when it comes out. I mean I played Minecraft. It's just not my type of game.
Fair enough. You know, we can't all have good taste, I guess.
I guess so. But with that, we are out of here, and we will see you next week, guys. Have a good one. Happy gaming.
Hugs.